Good morning and welcome to Albany Unitarian Universalist. My name is Reverend Sam Trumbore and I serve as the lead minister of this congregation. You may notice, and I don't see any children this morning, we are having family chapel on the first Sunday with Elizabeth Valdez, and we also have Olga Martinez down there too for this service, but she'll be back later on to lead the choir. This morning, we begin considering wonder, which is our theme for the month, by reflecting on the absence of it that can happen. And there is a significant personal loss that we're experiencing. Wonder may seem unavailable or far away. In its place is the sorrow one might hear sung maybe in a blues song. Sometimes why this is referred to as a blue Christmas service. So let us begin with Carrie Kopnick's words, inspired by Buddhist teacher Tara Brach's use of the word "this too belongs" in one of her talks. The sound of rain, not cheerful songs, a quiet rocking chair, not traditions of the season, the early sunset, not dancing lights, loss, tender heart, hollow soul, heavy days. Grief is welcome, a sacred part of the mourning, of the bereft, of the weeping. Amidst the celebrating, this too belongs. This too is holy. It binds us to our ancestors, the earth, the stars. It's still a streaming mug of tea warms the belly. The dog wags his tail and the cat purrs. There are laughter and tears, sometimes both, side the joy. This too belongs. Sharing human suffering is connection. Hearts like stones are held by all that is. Grief and light intertwined. This too belongs as we join together in the celebration of life. Let us light our chalice together with the words that you'll see on the screen. Welcoming all free seekers of truth and meaning, gather to excite the human spirit, to inspire its growth and development, to respond morally and ethically to troubled work, and to sustain a vital and nurturing religious community. We have a special opening song this morning to have Randy introduce that. I have 3 readings for you this morning. These are short poems. "'Tis a fearful thing." Yehuda Halevi, in the 12th century, wrote, "'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, to hope, to dream, to be and, oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing. And a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me. Your laugh once lifted me. Your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love. What death and has touched. River of Sorrow by Todd Negro. Drinking from the waters of sorrow sustains a different kind of life. This river is hidden from the rest of the world. Tears drip from my chin and fall into the endless flow of liquid love. This river sparkles with beauty. The Thing Is by Ellen Bass. To love life, to love it even when you have no stomach for it, and everything you've held dear crumbles like burnt paper in your hands, your throat filled with the silt of it. When grief sits with you, its tropical heat thickening the air, heavy as water, more fit for gills than lungs. When grief waits you like your own flesh, only more of it, an obesity of grief, you think. How can a body withstand this? Then you hold life like a face between your palms, plain face, no charming smile, no violet eyes. And you say, yes, I will take you, I will love you again. So in the readings. Mustering a jovial mood gets harder every year. When as early as November 1st, the first Christmas carols grate on the ears, I find those early holiday sales before November interfere with my access to wonder. Christmas trees and decorations are stocked in Lowe's in the beginning of October because they can't sell candy for Halloween or turkeys for Thanksgiving. A few national chains are stocking Christmas merchandise in September now. I'm ready to consider accessing wonder after all of the turkey, stuffing, and gravy have been finished, and not before. There are others, however, for whom the early sales enhance their holiday spirit as they stock up on holiday gifts. This is their favorite time of year, a time to splurge and show the ones that they love, that they care about them through giving them just the right gift. That gift shows a knowledge of the other person and their desires. The happy smile on a child's face who gets that special gift that they wanted, oh, it's priceless. And to get that gift at a low price, avoiding the crowds and shortages, all the better. Well, for many of us, the holiday traditions like tree decorating with family members or cookie baking with friends or tours of holiday homes covered with lights get that holiday cheer engaged. Holiday parties can bring warm feelings of community. Our yearly nativity pageant is likely to moisten a few eyes. Snowfall on Christmas Eve can easily get those sugar plums dancing in the head, whatever that means. In Punta Gorda, Florida, where I served before coming here, where it never snows, people decorate their boats with lights. And then they have these boat parades along the docks of the Peace River estuary while imbibing their favorite liquid beverage to get into the mood. It is those activities with friends and family that do the most to engage that holiday spirit of wonder. But for others, these activities and gatherings can completely fail, activate any wonder, even the ones that had been reliable sources in the past. These are the folks who've experienced a big loss or losses in the previous year. The ones that immediately come to mind are people who have lost a close family member, a parent, maybe a partner, sibling, or a child. Such grief can dampen and deaden the emotions, blocking any access to a sense of wonder that they may have reliably experienced in the past. This may be the first holiday without that loved one. Reminders of that loss can pop up unexpectedly each time, feeling like an arrow to the heart. The emotional stress of those repeated pangs of loss can make the grieving person want to hide under a rock until January 2nd. The loss of a loved one is just one of many losses that can dampen the holiday spirit. Business or a financial failure or a job loss, a divorce or separation, a physical injury or threatening diagnosis, or a change in one's mobility or health, stress in the workplace, or maybe conflict with family members, crisis of the spirit or meaning. All these and more can set up a sense of disconnection and alienation from the season of joy. Losses and miseries are the staple of Christmas stories, the wretched poverty of the Cratchit family and the poor crippled Tiny Tim and the oppression of miserable Scrooge. There are the poor cobbler in The Elves and the Shoemaker by the Brothers Grimm, and whose heart doesn't soften for that poor little match girl by Hans Christian Andersen. I enjoy searching for a good tearjerker for Christmas Eve as some forlorn person about to have a miserable Christmas holiday gets rescued by the kindness of strangers. Unfortunately, for many a grieving person, there will be no happy ending, at least not this year. Another dimension of getting the blues around the holidays is worrying about the effect on those nearby. So many parents and caregivers want their children to have a positive, happy holiday experience. Fear that their sour mood may dampen the child's experience only complicates the negative feelings, making them worse. Few enjoy being a wet blanket when everyone else is having a good time. The problem with grieving losses over the holidays is how wrong and isolating it feels. It's easy to slip toward resentment of others' happiness. It's so tempting to want others' holiday cheer to be extinguished by some misfortune, so they will be dragged into an equally wretched pit of sorrow. Misery does indeed love company. Well, in the spirit of compassion for those suffering losses that dampen or block their access to wonder this time of year, I've got a few I hope, helpful suggestions to make it less stressful. Most important, before sharing them, is to emphasize being sad, sorrowful, unhappy, sensitive, even miserable during the holiday season is an acceptable, even human response to loss. There's nothing wrong with having these emotions. It doesn't need to be fixed. Those feelings will spontaneously arise whether they are desired or not. These suggestions are strategies to work with those emotions in ways that might make them more manageable. There's nothing wrong with grieving losses during the holidays, and maybe a break from them would also be welcome. The most important attitude for dealing with grief during the holidays is that there is no right way to feel or respond to those feelings. There are no right answers. Everyone's different. Every situation that arises has unique aspects that can activate strong emotions for some, but not for others. And what doesn't trigger yesterday might trigger today. Best not to make emotions wrong, but rather to work skillfully with what comes up. Family and friends can't anticipate this inner chaotic process of grief. They can't mind meld with the griever and know what they're feeling, though they might be able to guess. And even if they recognize the emotional response, they will not understand fully how it is causing suffering in that particular moment. Therefore, it is so important for the grieving person to communicate with their loved ones about what they are experiencing and their sense of what would be helpful. That may mean taking time out from some activity or event just to allow the emotions to settle down. That might be helping others understand an increased irritability or reactivity that isn't about them. It might be having the space to bow out of some activity or event that may have been planned because the pain is just too great right now. Grief is hard enough. Grieving alone without support and appreciation of those who care makes the process so much harder. Having conversations about grief is especially important with children, so they understand and don't internalize that grief as something that is their fault. Children can show a surprising level of compassion and maturity if they recognize that it is an opportunity to be generous and kind rather than an experience of deprivation. If the loss is a shared loss, it might be a way to get closer to each other and to be mutually supportive of each other's grief process that can and will be different. A sanity saver is lowering expectations. The activities of the previous years may not be sustainable. The energy level or enthusiasm may not show up or be predictable. A good strategy is avoiding being the one everyone is depending on for some activity or event. Make plans with escape clauses. Better to have at least a backup or an understudy ready to step in if there's an incapacitating spasm of sorrow. This is a saner way to live anyway in a time when COVID can strike and disrupt best laid plans. For many who are grieving, most difficult hurdles to face are social situations. Showing up at a party full of couples when you have lost your partner is very painful. The same an event with children if one has lost a child. If the grief is fresh and strong, facing intrusive questions or the discomfort of those who fear the pain the grieving person is experiencing may be just too much to bear. A helpful strategy can be having a compassionate companion in those social situations, willing to fend off unwelcome questions or anxiety and keep and help create a safe space for the griever. No matter how carefully one attempts to manage the holiday season, there are likely going to be times when the grieving emotions are overwhelming. Making time to just be alone, taking a long walk, getting a soothing massage, enjoying a special meal, taking time to write down the flurry of feelings and emotions, longings and fears can create a healing pause. The grieving process wants to be a healing process. That healing process needs space for thoughts, emotions, memories, regrets, hopes, and fears to bubble up and be known and find a path of release. One healing strategy to move through grief is finding a way to remember the loss. The goal is to help move from the pain of absence to an awareness of the continuing presence in memory. Some find ways to include a person lost by intentionally remembering them by lighting a special candle in their honor. It could be setting a place for them at a table. It could be displaying an ornament that was a favorite of theirs on a tree. It could be putting some of their artwork in a prominent place. It could be setting aside time to read their writing or listen to a meaningful poem of theirs. It could be to watch videos of them doing goofy things that bring smiles. Whatever the path of remembrance, it helps connect with the vitality of the person that offers affirmation beyond their life that can be carried forward. For those of us who are not actively grieving a loss, we can make a very positive difference for those who are by making regular contact. Reaching out is so important, even if it's simply to say, I'm here for you. Cards, emails of support, friendly greeting are always welcome, even if the one receiving it isn't up for social contact at that moment. Just knowing people haven't forgotten them and will be ready to include them again when they are ready means a lot. Grief can be more difficult for those who are not used to being out of control of their emotions, especially the strong ones. Being in relationship with those who are more familiar with riding that emotional roller coaster, especially those highs and the lows of grief, can make a big difference. And there is great joy of being the member of a religious community dedicated to learning and growing in the practice of love. We practice love for each other that transcends personal attachment. It is a gift of the Spirit we can share with each other. It is a gift that can help us when great sorrow comes our way. A woman in tears, holding her deceased child, came to see the Buddha. She had heard that the Buddha could bring people back from death. and pleaded with the Buddha to restore her child to life. The Buddha was moved by her deep grief, and he said that he would restore her child to life if she could bring him just one grain of rice, just one grain of rice from a household that had never known grief, never known death. Eagerly, she went house to house, begging for that grain of rice. Yet try as she might, she couldn't find such a household that didn't know death. Gradually, she came to understand that she was now part of a greater reality, part of their reality. Everyone will know death in their family, and she was no exception. Such is the truth of a religious community like ours. We all have known great loss, or if we haven't yet, soon enough we will. One of the most precious and valuable dimensions of our congregation is our mutual support to deal with the hardships of loss together. And in that shared experience, we touch ever so gently into a greater reality that life and death are part of a greater whole of which we are a part. We sense the continuity of life, love, and existence. The holidays will never be the same after a great loss, yet they can become something new over time. There is no rush. There is always next year. There can be sweetness in the sadness, maybe. May those grieving this holiday season lower their expectations and make space for their grief. May they receive support to ease their pain, and if there's room, have an elevated openness to this present moment to see what unfolds. So be it. And I'd like to close with this responsive reading you'll find in your order of service. If you could speak, you're going to hear me say, this season brings forth many feelings, and that's your clue to share the words. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts, not all is joyful. There is grief with the loss of relationships, those we love no longer with us because of death, those we have loved who are estranged from us, those we love yet experience a diminishment of intimacy. There is grief with the loss and change of relationship. Grief, bittersweet, for it is a consequence of the presence of love. This season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our hearts, not all is joyful. There may be pain in our bodies, physical pain as a natural outcome of aging, physical pain that presents itself in illness, pain, bittersweet, for physical experience includes both pain and pleasure, and this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be anger and regret with the memories we hold, anger with past experiences of hurt or abuse, regret of our own actions that may have caused hurt to others, anger that life has not turned out as we have imagined, regret for what we might have said or done, anger and regret bittersweet in presenting the possibility for healing and forgiveness. This season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There may be a sense of hopelessness in the face of so much violence and suffering, hopelessness with the attempts to heal our aching world ourselves, hopelessness in witnessing what we have not managed to accomplish, hopelessness bittersweet, for its longing reminds us of our capacity for hope. This season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. There is loneliness. Loneliness when we are separated from loved ones. Loneliness when we move to a new community and struggle to find our way. Loneliness that never seems filled, even with good company. Loneliness that is an ever-present aching in the heart. Loneliness bittersweet, for it is felt only when we have known connectedness. And this season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings. We find some peace in being together. All around us are bright lights and merry messages, yet in our heart, not all is joyful. We know grief and pain. We know anger and regret. We know hopelessness and loneliness. We know all these things. We name them. We live them, knowing that love presents us with the possibility of being hurt. That connection holds the potential for loneliness and uncertainty. That forgiveness can begin to heal anger and regret. That being alive is a courageous act, engaging all of our emotions, knowing the season brings forth many feelings. We find comfort in naming these feelings, find some peace in being together. So be it.
Morning. My name is Eric Bonhausen, and I'll be the service associate today. Important way we celebrate life each Sunday is by offering an opportunity to practice generosity. Members and friends support our congregation with an annual pledge made throughout the year. Another way to support the good work of this congregation is by making a generous contribution as we pass the plate or via one of the options shown on the next slide. If you are joining us virtually, you can click on the tiny URL link in the chat window to contribute, or you can send a text to the number shown on the screen. The examples on the slide show how to label your text to indicate the amount and the purpose of your gift. We must now say goodbye to our Facebook friends. Consider joining us on Zoom next time, or visit us in person at 405 Washington Ave, Albany. You can find more information at albanyuu.org. Our offering music is My Christmas Wish for You, Words and Music by Gordon Cronfut. pastoral care associates who are on duty today are Sandy Stone and Donna Meissner. Down in the back. This is the time set aside in our service for sharing significant personal milestones in our lives. There are several ways to share a joy or sorrow. On Zoom, you can click the raise hand symbol. The technician will call on you to unmute and share your joy or sorrow. Those in the community hall will be able to come forward, select a stone to place in the bowl on the table. If you wish, you can share your joy or sorrow into the microphone. Please also consider sharing your joy or sorrow after the service with one of the pastoral care associates. We'll begin by reading items that were submitted this past week. We'll be followed by the spoken joys and sorrows on Zoom, and finishing with any joys and sorrows to be shared from Community Hall. Kate, were there any joys and sorrows submitted in advance?
I have no pre-submitted joys or sorrows, and so far we have one raised hand on Zoom. Julie, if you could go ahead and unmute.
Hi, yes, this is Julie Lamo. I have a joy because tomorrow Rob and I are driving down to New York City to see our granddaughter Jasper performing in a dance troupe right ahead of the Rockettes. And it's really amazing. And we've got tickets, and our daughter treated us to a hotel room because New York City has gotten just incredibly expensive. And then the next day I'm going to see a very old friend who's now in a nursing home in Upper Manhattan. So I'm really looking forward to that trip. Thank you.
We go next to Carol Butt. Carol, if you could unmute.
Hi, I have heard that Rudy is in the hospital with pneumonia. Does anybody know his status? He went in, I think, Wednesday with pneumonia. So if anybody knows his status, if they could tell us, I'd appreciate that.
Ooh.
Thank you. Rudy.
Yeah, hi, this is Chuck Manning, and actually we've talked to Rudy. He hopes to come home today. And so we're going to be checking in with him and see how he's doing. But ideally, he should hope to be home today, if not, probably tomorrow.
Thank you, Chuck.
We go next to Patricia Burks. If you could unmute.
Hi, I have a sorrow. My mother, my sisters and I have made the decision to help my mother get into an advanced care memory facility for her Alzheimer's this next upcoming week, and we are hoping for a smooth transition there. But it's definitely a time of great grief as we lose more and more of her each day to Alzheimer's this holiday.
We go next to the last raised hand. Unfortunately, the name just says iPad. If you could go ahead and unmute.
Hi, my name's Kim Fujioka, and I have a sorrow. My husband died on October 3rd, and he had a brain tumor. And so this is my first Christmas without him, and it's pretty rough. That's all.
Those are all the raised hands that we have on Zoom at this time.
There's one more.
Oh, I just saw that come in. Thank you. Marty, if you could unmute.
Hi, I just spoke with Rudy on the phone. He called me to tell me that he's feeling fine today, but he doesn't expect to go home until tomorrow. And he doesn't think that he'll need me to come and take him to the VA tomorrow. So it's good news that he's feeling good. And I just wanted everybody to know that. He just called me to tell me. So that's the latest news about Rudy.
Thank you, Marty.
Pleasure's mine.
Thanks, Marty.
Yes.
Those wishing to move a stone are now invited to come forward. If you wish to speak your joy or sorrow, you can wait with the usher at the microphone.
Hi, my name is Jim Reed. On last week, my mom passed away the day after Thanksgiving. She was in my ICU for a week. We were hoping she would recover, but she never recovered, unfortunately. I'm thankful for many years we had together, and she was a big cat lover, so I'm wearing my cat hoodie in honor memory of her.
Hello, my name is Irita London, and I just wanted to say my joy is that I was so moved by the service today. The holidays usually are a little challenging. My dad was born November 26th. My mom was born January 2nd. And my brother, who I often think about, even though he died 40 years ago, was born on December 25th.
My name is Al DeSalvo. Sort of a tough time for me also. This last Friday, December 2nd, would have been my wife, Susan Thompson's 82nd birthday.
As I select a stone on behalf of those joys and sorrows that are left unspoken, let us hold all that we've heard and felt in our hearts.
This prayer of affirmation is from Jamie Saki, and it's titled, I Am Learning How to Live. It's adapted. Let us turn inwards for these words. Spirit of love, spirit of life. I am learning how to live in a new way since that day you, my beloved, were taken away. I'm learning how to live with the things left unsaid, knowing I got to say them with every tear that I shed. I'm learning how to live by embracing the pain, knowing that you live on through the memories that remain. I'm learning how to live knowing I will never again see your face, and I have peace knowing you're in a better place. I'm learning how to live knowing you're in thy care. It gives me the strength to move on and makes the pain easier to bear. So be it, and amen.
We like to get to know guests and visitors in our service. If you'd like to tell us who you are or where you're from, those here in Community Hall should stand or raise your hand. The usher will bring you a microphone so that everyone can hear you. Those joining us on Zoom can click on the raise hand symbol. Our technician will invite you to unmute and introduce yourself. You can also click on the visitor link you'll now find in the chat window.
We have no raised hands on Zoom at this time.
Good morning. Okay, good morning. Frank Otto, and first time in a very long time. And some of the older members here might remember my wife Sheila, who passed away 3 weeks ago today. Just wanted to let you know.
Thank you and welcome to all who have joined us today. If you'd like to learn more about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism, you can stop by the table in the lobby and speak with our greeters or at the welcome table host. On Zoom, you can find the participant window, someone with welcome before their name. You can reach out to that person in chat. There will be all opportunities to socialize and welcome newcomers after our service, both for those on Zoom and those here in Community Hall. I draw your attention to the announcements printed in the order of service and as shown on the screen. Coffee hour and snacks today will be sponsored by the finance team. Today is the last day to order from our online craft fair. There are still many exciting and wonderful items left to choose from. So check out the order form with photographs of each item ready for you to choose what you would like to pre-order before it's too late. Check on our website under albanyu.org crafts order form. Join the Green Sanctuary team for a Zoom forum. Are you hooked on economic growth? I am. On Monday, December 5th at 7 p.m., featuring Bill Gardner, Director of Growth Busters. The Zoom link is shown in your Christmas passages. On Sunday, December 18th, we will be presenting May I Hold the Baby live during the service in Community Hall. Pageant is a retelling of the classic nativity story framed by UU values. If you or your child would like to be involved, role selection will take place today at 11:30 a.m. in the upstairs room 26. Rehearsals take place on Sunday, December 11th from 11:30 to 12:30, Community Hall. We are sad to announce that our longtime member, Bill Batt, died on November 21st. Memorial service will be held on Sunday, December 10th at 2 p.m. in the sanctuary, followed by a reception in Channing Hall. Contributions of finger foods for the reception are welcome. And the annual Albany UU Holiday Music Jam will take place on Sunday, December 18th during coffee hour. Play music from the books of festive strings and more festive strings. By Joanne Martin. The event is multi-generational, multi-level, and multi-instrumental. For more information, please contact Anne Marie Haber. Closing words are from Mary Oliver's book on devotions. My favorite. It's a very short poem, so I'm going to read it twice because I think short poems need to be heard at least twice to sink in. It's called At Blackwater Pond. At Blackwater Pond, tossed waters have settled after a night of rain. I dip my cupped hands. I drink a long time. It tastes like stone, leaves, fire. It falls cold into my body, waking the bones. I hear them deep inside me whispering, oh, what is that beautiful thing that just happened? One more time. At Blackwater Pond, the tossed waters have settled after a night of rain. I dip my cupped hands. I drink a long time. It tastes like stone, leaves, fire. It falls cold into my body, waking the bones. I hear them deep inside me whispering, but what is that beautiful thing that just happened? As we extinguish the chalice, please join us. Oh, we have a closing song, sorry. Words of our closing song will appear on the screen. Please join in singing. As we extinguish the chalice, please join in the words shown on the screen. Extinguish this flame, not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Those on Zoom are encouraged to join a breakout room for conversation and fellowship. You can click the accept the breakout room assignment when it appears on your screen. Those in Community Hall are invited to attend coffee hour. We especially encourage guests and visitors to join us for coffee and refreshments. Anyone on Zoom or in Community Hall is welcome to attend a congregational response, discuss service topic. You can stay in the same Zoom meeting or right here in Community Hall, and the discussion will begin in a few minutes. Those wishing to socialize with others are asked to exit Community Hall so that the conversational response can start promptly. Glad you joined us today. This concludes our service. Thank you.